The rain was relentless that night, cold, merciless, and unending. The kind of rain that made even the city lights look tired. In a dimly lit hospital room on the 15th floor of St. Mary's Medical Center, a man who owned half the skyline sat broken beside his daughter's hospital bed. Daniel Hart, a billionaire with everything money could buy, except the one thing he needed most, time. His daughter, Lily, barely 16, lay pale and motionless beneath the sterile white sheets. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound that reminded him she was still alive. The doctors had said she had 3 days. 3 days before her rare heart condition would claim her life unless they found a matching donor. But no donor had been found. And Daniel Hart, a man who could buy private islands and politicians, was helpless. For the first time in his life, money meant nothing. "Please, Lily," he whispered, gripping her frail hand, "you're all I have." Outside, the rain hit harder. Somewhere in that same city, under a rusted bridge, a barefoot boy shivered beneath a piece of torn plastic. His name was Ion, 14 years old, dark-haired, sharp-eyed, and invisible to the world. He sold flowers at traffic lights, begged for leftovers, and slept wherever the night allowed. He didn't know who his parents were. All he had was a cracked pendant around his neck, shaped like a heart, the only thing he ever remembered his mother giving him before disappearing forever. Before we dive deeper into this heart-touching story, don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to Kindness Universe for more stories that remind us of the power of humanity and hope. The next morning, the city woke to news headlines about the billionaire's daughter's final wish. Social media buzzed with sympathy and curiosity. Reporters surrounded the hospital. Donations poured in. Prayers were tweeted, and strangers lit candles. But none of it mattered, because all the money in the world couldn't create a miracle. Lily's condition was deteriorating fast. Her heart was too weak to function, her body too fragile to wait. Daniel had called every surgeon, every hospital across continents. But the only compatible heart available was hundreds of miles away, frozen by paperwork, delays, and bureaucratic red tape. It would never reach in time. That evening, Daniel stepped outside the hospital for air. The storm had finally stopped. The streets were quiet except for a boy sitting near the parking lot playing a tune on a broken flute. The sound was haunting, pure, the kind of music that carried pain. Daniel stopped, drawn by something he couldn't explain. The boy looked up. His eyes, deep, sharp, and strangely peaceful, met his. "Sir, would you like me to play her favorite song?" the boy asked softly. Daniel frowned. "You don't even know who I am." "Everyone does, sir," the boy replied, his voice steady. "The man whose daughter is dying. I saw her photo on the news." Daniel hesitated. "She loved music," he said quietly. "Before she got sick, she used to play piano every morning. The house feels empty now." Ion smiled faintly. "Then maybe I can make it feel full again, even for a moment." He lifted the flute and began to play, a melody so tender, so heartbroken, that it felt like the city itself was listening. Daniel closed his eyes, and for the first time in weeks, he felt peace. When the tune ended, Daniel placed a $100 bill in the boy's hand, but the boy shook his head. "I don't need money, sir. I just hope your daughter wakes up to that song someday." Daniel's throat tightened. He didn't know why, but he felt something shift inside him. There was something about that boy, something pure, something familiar. The next morning, Daniel returned to the hospital, unaware that Ion had followed him quietly from a distance. Lily's condition had worsened. The doctors told Daniel they were running out of time. In desperation, he made a call to his private jet, ready to fly anywhere, do anything, if there was even a sliver of hope. But just as he stepped out to make the call, he heard shouting near the emergency entrance. A crowd had gathered around a young boy lying on the pavement, hit by a speeding car while trying to cross the street. Daniel's breath froze when he saw the boy's face. It was Ion. Blood trickled from the boy's lips. His small hand still clutched the broken flute. Daniel rushed to him, kneeling beside the stretcher as the paramedics arrived. "Stay with me, son," Daniel said, voice trembling. "You're going to be okay." Ion's eyes fluttered open, barely focusing. "Sir," he whispered, "don't." Don't cry. Tell your daughter. I played her song. Then, with one last faint smile, his hand fell limp. The doctors pronounced him dead on arrival hours later as Daniel sat numb in the waiting room. The transplant specialist rushed in, face pale but excited. Mr. Hart, we ran the compatibility test the boy. He's a perfect match. The world stopped. Daniel stood frozen. What are you saying? The street boy who just passed away, his heart could save Lily's life. If we operate within the hour. Daniel couldn't speak. His mind screamed with grief and disbelief. This boy, a nobody to the world, had just become the miracle he'd been praying for. Tears streamed down his face as he gave consent. The surgery began immediately. The hours that followed felt like years. Daniel paced the hallway, trembling, praying, until finally the surgeon stepped out, exhausted but smiling. It's done. She's stable. The heart is strong. Daniel collapsed to his knees, sobbing. When Lily finally opened her eyes 3 days later, the sun was rising over the city, soft golden light filling the room. She smiled weakly at her father. Dad, I heard music, she whispered. Someone was playing my song. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He reached into his pocket and held out a small, cracked heart-shaped pendant. Sweetheart, he said softly, this belonged to the boy who saved you. Lily held the pendant against her chest, her voice breaking. Then, I'll keep it close to my heart forever. Daniel couldn't hold back his tears. He told her everything about Ion, the flute, and his sacrifice. Lily wept silently. That day, she made a promise. She would dedicate her second chance at life to helping children like him, those who had nothing but hearts full of hope. Months later, the Ion Foundation for Orphan Children was established. It provided shelter, education, and medical care for street kids across the country. A statue of a boy holding a flute stood in front of the building. Beneath it, a plaque that read, "He had nothing, yet gave everything." On the foundation's opening day, Lily, now healthy, radiant, and full of life, played the same melody Ion once played under the rain. And as the crowd listened, many swore they could hear another faint flute joining her, carried by the wind. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Universe for more true and inspiring stories that prove kindness can change the world.